Hello, everyone, and Frank Thacker here, and welcome to the Daily Peacemaker. About maybe a month and a half ago, I was at one of the local restaurants, and sitting at the bar, and the bar was not too crowded, but there were a lot of people there. So this guy walks in and ends up sitting next to me, and as not uncommon, he starts a conversation. I forget what he said, like what are you drinking there? What's that drink? Or something like that. And then he ordered his drink, and um, then I think he said something about there's a game on TV, and so we started talking a little bit about that, and what the weather, stuff like that, ordinary everyday stuff. And then he says to me, he goes, "What's that? Save the Bay." I had on my Save the Bay T-shirt and also on my hat. I didn't have my hat on. I take my hat off when I go into a restaurant or a bar. I had it on the side there with the little Save the Bay. And so he says, like I said, "Oh, what Save this Bay stuff?" And since I was listening with the third ear, and for you of those that don't know what the third ear is, if you go back to episode 10, I think the one right before this, where we talk a little bit about listening, how to listen to someone when you're in a dialogue with them, trying to bring about unity through diversity. And one of the things is this so-called third ear. So anyway, listening with the third ear, well, I find that hard to pronounce, third ear. I picked up a little edge to him. So I said, well, it's a local organization that works to save the bay, keeping it clean, checking out the growth in terms of foreign substance and algae, and working with some other departments about the ocean, the increase in the ocean rising and how that might affect beaches and surrounding areas and stuff like that. So he goes, oh. So he said, a long time ago, way back, the Earth was frozen and with ice, he said. And there's a part of me that I have a little edge to me sometimes, and I want to say, yeah, well, what's your point? But I didn't, because I'm like trying to be nonviolent here and like really listen. So I just was quiet, and I said, yeah. And he said, so why bother if the ocean's rising or not rising? It's how Mother Nature works, and there's really nothing to get concerned about. And I think I said something, well, it does seem that it is rising, and it is causing some concerns for some people. And all the time, so then I forget the flow of it, but he got into the whole climate warming and the crisis and that type of stuff. And he tended to first of all make fun of people that were even leaning that way and calling them being duped by the government, and the science is all out of whack, and you can find scientists that say just the opposite, that everything's fine and it's just a normal cycle. And just kind of listening and being very aware. One of the principles of nonviolence is not to win over people in the sense of showing them how wrong they are in this case. So I didn't want to start getting into quoting scientific studies and those types of things, because the goal is to win them over, not win over them. That's a subtle thing. Win over them means you kind of beat them into submission, or if it's a war, you annihilate them. Whereas to win them over is bringing them over to maybe see a different side of the story. So I was very aware of that and didn't want to get into a discussion with him. Excuse me for a minute. And he was pretty edgy about all that stuff, and kind of making fun of people that believed in that and those types of things. And I would ask questions when he would say something about this, that the planet is not warming up, or that it always has gone through these cycles. I would ask the question, well, I think that's true. That's a good point. But do you think those cycles are speeding up? And, so always that's another thing about these discussions, asking questions and not trying to get into a battle. And then at some point, I said, well, let me ask you a question. How do you think we humans are taking care of the earth? Is that important to you that we maybe could do a better job living more in harmony with nature and taking better care of the planet? And that kind of was a nice, or caused a shift in his attitude, because he then got into the notion of how much we waste as humans, and how much we consume and waste. And so that we went on for a while with that. So that was a nice shift, a nice change. And I think that's an important thing in these discussions. I think I mentioned in one of them about the gun battles, for and against. And, instead of arguing Second Amendment rights and we need to change the laws, maybe shifting the conversation to, well, how can we prevent or lessen or stop people with guns from killing people indiscriminately? And that begins, so those little shifts where you find a commonality way deep down, where you're both kind of a point where you both can work together on a common issue, that when you spin out sometimes and get up here, you're fighting each other. So so after that, I finally said to the guy that I had to leave, and I did have to leave. So I said, "Nice talking to you." And he made some remark about, he said things got a little heated there in the beginning for a while, and maybe I shouldn't have said this, but I said, well, that's sort of a ironic remark coming from someone that doesn't believe that things are getting warmer or hotter. And I just left. I did, and I do this quite often, I did buy him a drink on the way out. I didn't let him know, I just told the bartender. I think he was drinking beer or some. I said, bring that guy another beer if he wants, and tell him he needs to cool off a bit. And then I just left. So anyway, I was reflecting on that whole exchange afterwards, and a couple of things related to nonviolence that are very helpful to be aware of when you find yourself in one of these situations. One is that issue that we mentioned before about not having to win over the person, but to win them over. So and that flows through all the issues. Another thing is, one of the principles, the fourth principle, is to be willing to suffer for this. It's a little convoluted, being willing to suffer for the sake of the cause to achieve the goal, which basically means, like when he was bad-mouthing people that believed in the science of global warming or ocean rising, and he was kind of making fun of them and stuff. to not get defensive. I was pretty good at not getting defensive, being willing to suffer, that's a strong word there, but, to take a little flack because I believed in these things. I didn't have to retaliate and, you know, get back at him and say, oh, you're a dumb jerk for believing in this and those types of things. So that was one. The other is to avoid internal violence as well as external violence. And what that means is I might have, and I think I might have, in reflecting back, found myself in the midst of that conversation, some little thought flashed through my mind that, oh man, do I want to waste my time with this guy? He's way off base. But even afterwards, relating that experience to someone, not starting off by saying, I was talking to this guy, what a jerk he was, man, it just drive you crazy. Because that's violent. And also, excuse me again, not beating up on myself, because I also thought afterwards maybe I could have been more engaging with him and asked some better questions. Maybe not made good points, but asked better questions. And then I thought, that little remark that I made at the end about how ironic that someone that doesn't believe in global warming is talking about things warming up. Was that a little zinger, a little violent, a little slap on side of the head as I left, or was it just humorous, a little playful? It's hard. I don't know what I was. It was very spontaneous, I'll tell you that. It just popped out. So I don't know if that was a good thing or a little bit of violence getting the better of me. So reflecting on that, so if we're going to work to create unity when there is diversity, one of the tools is that whole ability to be nonviolent in these discussions. And the two main points would be that notion of being willing to accept some negative feedback, some flack about yourself or your position without having to get defensive. And that doesn't mean you just sit back there and say, oh yeah, man, that's right, but you don't have to attack back. You can stand strong in your truth. And so that's one. And then the other one is that not carrying internal violence, either towards that person or towards yourself. Even as I pointed out after, when you tell someone that story, or when I tell someone that incident, making sure that I don't badmouth this person. And I think there was one friend I told it to, and he said something to the effect of, that guy must be a real jerk. And I said, well, not really. He, he was made some good points, and he was very into the whole notion of our consumerism and all the waste. So there was some good stuff that came from him. Excuse me. So that's kind of the points there that I wanted to make. I had so we got that, and all that. So the notion, you got to win them over, not win over them. So avoid, be willing to suffer, to take some flack, with keeping your eye on the prize and avoiding that internal violence, both towards the other and towards yourself. And I think that's it. Oh, I just realized I had a really nice autumn blessing, but it's on my phone. And so in order to get it, I'm videoing this through my phone. I'm going to have to, Frankie, that's not too good. I'll save it for next time, because it's a real nice autumn blessing. And when I do the next one, it will actually probably be sometime in autumn. All right, so that kind of wraps it up for today. Hope your day goes well, and we will see you again soon. Thank you for listening, and you can always check dailypeacemaker.com. Love to hear from you, questions, insights, all those good things. So may your day go well, and until we meet again, may you find your days full with peace. All right, so long.